Good morning.
All right. You ready? All right. Good morning, everybody. I'll call this recommending meeting to order October 6, 2009. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law, clerk?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And at this time, I would like to read the first item, which is discussion and possible action regarding a First Amendment and participation agreement between the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency and Bilo Market, located in the Edmond Town Center, located at Owens Avenue and J Street, $100,000 RDA Special Revenue Fund, Ward 5.
Wrong agenda, I think.
Wrong agenda? It is the wrong agenda. That's tomorrow. They put the wrong one in my slip. I read the mayor's part, so I apologize. I'll retract. The correct bill number is 2009-39, authorizes the issuance of general obligation limited tax medium-term bonds, Main Street Parking Garage, Series 2009, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $15 million, proposed by Mark Vincent. That is the correct item for the day. Staff?
This is a standard bond issuance ordinance for the purposes stated, reimbursing prior expenditures for acquiring a parking garage at 500 South Main Street. It's in order. I don't see finance here, so if you have any finance-related questions, I'm not sure I can answer them.
Okay, I have a briefing, I believe today at 10, so I will ask Mark Vincent any finance questions, but from a legal standpoint, everything is in
order.
Okay. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this item? If so, please come forward, state your name for the record, and we'll be glad to hear from you.
Yes. Juanita Clark on behalf of Charleston Neighborhood Preservation, and I'm also a member. Charleston Neighborhood Preservation spoke against this as a proposal in September of 2009, obligating taxpayers of this city of Las Vegas to pay for a parking garage first named, quote, the new City Hall parking garage, end of quote, but today named, quote, Main Street parking garage, end of quote. Understanding that this purpose and plan has been designed by only our elected representatives and staff hired by them, we are seeking some answers. First, are Smith attendees and employees expected to be the primary vehicle parkers in this garage?
Staff?
We call Mark and come down.
Yeah.
Explain what exactly this bill does. Again, it says prior obligations. What happened previously that impacts this? Because didn't we vote on this a couple meetings ago? Something to do with the parking garage?
You did. This is the starts the process under state law for using the provisions of NRS Chapter 350, which authorize the issuance of bonds to pay for things in the future or in the past. This reads as if it's in the past, so I assume that they're anticipating the work being performed before the bonds will be sold.
So this is the funding authorization to build this parking garage. And without this passing, the parking garage can never be built.
I'm guessing that, but I can't say that for sure.
At least this funding wouldn't be in place for it to be built. Okay. But it still has to come before us. Whatever the additional funding would be. It's going to figure out what we're going to go for our movement. We need to get the contact party also. I'm going to apologize for that.
parking garage. We have about 1,200 spaces. Sounds to me as though there's the possibility of me most likely coming late and not being able to find parking space. Among the 650. No, because the leases are compatible. The barriers would be the office district. Does that mean you'll be changing planning commission meetings? Another question is, which, and this is lifted from the 30-page document we saw, quote, which, quote, other city properties, the project, end quote, have projected to need vehicle spaces for employees and customers in this Main Street parking garage. Note the second paragraph, because other city properties project. So was there in your response already then when you mentioned the regional justice center? That's not on here, and that would be, this is what now, projected at 6 stories. Would this be added to then? So would this be added to then? It sounds like it's a 6-story standalone parking. Yeah, it's 650 spaces, and 650 spaces from what you're mentioning does not seem to match it. If I was building a nursery, I would want more space. In terms of being able to find parking space, yes. Well, I think as demand grows, as a result of the development of more parking is going to demand. This garage is now going to serve, Jeff, I think if I remember correctly, I think there's something like 15,000 parking spaces all planned for the Symphony Park. And 650 is just a piece of that. And part of it is because Park Haven to the ski center to provide free parking for their patrons when they have their shows. So no, this garage is not in and of itself going to service all that area. It's just going to service a little piece of it. All right. Another question we have is, we already have answered the first one. How many standard size parking spaces and handicap spaces are planned? I don't know. I have to have Public Works. This is just for the financing. I just off the top of my head, I don't know. Whatever the requirements would be in terms of handicap and ADA requirements, those will all be met. So it would be the percentage for 650 spaces, a certain percentage would be for the handicap. I don't recall what the ratio knows what the ratio is, but whatever the standards are for ADA and handicap, that's what we'll do. there'll be elevators and the like as well.
I think it's one handicap spot to every 10 or 12 spaces.
I want to say it's 10%.
Yeah.
That's, don't hold me to that. I'm just,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's just roughly about 10%, so looking at about 60 spaces.
Okay, I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Not right off the top.
The shame of it is I didn't recognize you, and if I would have, I would have known.
Just in passing, after yesterday when we came and I stopped in the parking garage to drop off our president Ingram, and I usually just take right off. And fortunately, there was somebody there that yelled out and said, "The elevators aren't working." Because this could have been a real challenge, but because they weren't working then, she was able to come across the parking, the street, and things like that, and then up those steps, of which are kind of awesome out there, to come inside of here, of course, here to the elevator. But that's of concern that the elevator was not working, and when she arrived and reported it, it had not been reported that the elevator was not working. And then we were up here about an hour and went and checked to see if it had been repaired, and it had not been repaired. So we went down the same way she had come, and when we got there, we did look and see at the, and there was no sign on the elevators that they weren't working, and so we're just concerned about that little thing going on there. So anyway.
We'll make a note of it and communicate that facilities. I wasn't aware that it was out of operation. There are two elevators, so I imagine if both were out, it's coming in.
Right, and I'm just tying that in with this because even though this is just funding, this funding is to build an edifice that, a parking garage, that should be functional for all people who want to use that facility. So I'm not sure what kind of arrangements are over there. If the elevators aren't working, what would be going on there? But I think that should be assumed. Someday the elevators are not going to be working. How is a handicapped person or a person with a walker, a person with a chair, supposed to get where they're going? Or is it just tough luck, whatever? Okay, the next question. And that was part of it, is please compare the handicap accommodations in the proposed facility to the current 5th and Stewart Streets garage. Do you have any information about what the handicap accommodations are for the new one?
I personally don't. I don't know that we have 100% design on it yet either. So I think we're probably at 30% maybe. We're probably where we're at with the garage. So I don't know. I don't know that we finished the design for the garage. My understanding is ultimately we'll probably have, this is a guess, but we'll probably have two sets of elevators. There'll be one that will service the office quarter, and there'll be one on the back side of the property that will service the bridge that will go over into City Park. So I'm kind of guessing there might be two sets of elevators, but I don't know that for a fact.
So this can be funded without having the plans complete?
Well, sure.
Obviously, I'm not a builder, but
We have enough of the design to have a cost estimate, and so we know what we think it's going to cost, and oftentimes it's not unusual to have funding in place and to design to the funding. I mean, you can go out and build a house without knowing what your funding limitations are. You would first figure out what you can afford and design that. So no, it's not too unusual to have the funding in advance of knowing 100% of what you're going to build. We have enough information to have a good estimate.
Okay.
Mark, just to make sure on public record, when we do the design, it will be completely under ADA regulations and completely accessible by the handicap.
We're going to have to comply with all the federal and our own regulatory requirements in terms of what's necessary. So it will be compliant. Absolutely.
okay. Then this one is probably way too minute for that. The next one is, what will be the meter cost per minute, and on what are these charges based?
I don't know. I I don't think we've had a lot of discussion about that, but we do have a policy that all of our garages are pretty much metered at the same rate, so if there was any reason to change our metering policies, it'd be something that would come to council, and they would look at that. At the moment, I think it probably metered, just like Stewart garages or other garage facilities, you might imagine. I'm not sure it would be actually metered. It may have a different kind of device in it to collect the parking fees. But,
We're just concerned about the fees.
yeah.
How much to cost.
That's a separate issue.
Well,
And
I can't say
for-
this, that in order for the meter fees to go up, it would have to come back before council. So you would have an opportunity during public comment or during that discussion item to address your concerns as it relates to the increase of meter fees. So as Mark mentioned, with whatever the current rate is now, which I believe is a quarter for every 15 minutes, roughly, if in fact those fees go up, you'll have an opportunity to come here and state your concern.
Okay. What are these charges based on currently?
Well, we look at two things. I would tell you right now, our fees that we charge for the parking garage don't come anywhere close to paying for the cost of providing the facility and maintaining it. So right now, we are greatly subsidizing all of the garage rates. The problem we have today is that there isn't as much demand for parking, garage parking in the downtown area, because we have so many casino facilities that provide free parking. So we're limited to some extent by supply and demand issues. That's simply setting the price for that, but we don't recover our costs. So it's, we could-
And of course-
it's whatever council decides they want to set the fees. Right now, as I said, it's a significant subsidy.
And of course, as the fees are raised, there's going to be fewer users. They do find a way, And so, okay, for what functions will meter users not be charged?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not the parking enterprise, and I said I'm not prepared to answer those questions. It's about the financing of the garage.
Okay, okay. Thank you, because of course this is quite an interesting thing that when constituents come to speak to issues that concern their lives and without us, there wouldn't be a city. Then we need to pay in order to speak, to address our concerns, and this is not. The American way, let's put it that way, as we said. Okay, the next one is, knowing the dependence of City Council upon concerns and interests of their constituents, we want to make sure that you know that currently Planning Commission meeting attendees are being issued parking tickets, and we want to know why. It's some others to assess his participation. Oh, today? Okay. All right, thank you. As far as I'm concerned, that's going to fit in with it. Okay, does that address the issue today? Since it's using a quote from the document from yesterday. Thank you. Quote obligations, end of quote, as mentioned in paragraph 1 of page 2. Does this indicate that there is no limit on the number of, that there is an open number of the multiple $15 million bonds, or if there are a specific number, what is that number? It's $15 million. The city cannot issue more than $15 million in bonds. If the terms are actually closer to the final design of the spots, then we'll issue less than $15 million is the maximum that this authorizes us to issue bonds. Alright, okay, appreciate that, because I know we did ask a similar question before. Okay, basically thinking about it, we just want to know how the executive director of the State Department of Taxation, how's this last name pronounced? I think the first one is Dino. DeCianos. Okay, thank you, appreciate that. The next one, page 6, section 6, uses the words, quote, the word substantially, end of quote. Our definition says that means allows for variance or some degree of difference from what is stated. Paragraph 1 of page 2. I'm sorry, page 6, section 6. This is the position of laws. It was substantially. To us, that means a variance of some degree of difference. I was just describing that the form of the bonds to say that the section 44 describes the form of the bonds. Yes. This is this document is prepared by our outside bond counsel. The language is using the very standards in all of our bond. So you go to section 24 and describes the form of the bond as a subject provision as well as the bond will be substantially the following form. The emissions, insertions, endorsements, variations, okay. By the circumstances describing the actual form of the bond. Investors are going to apply. That's all. Okay. But again, it's not specifically, that is not the specific document we're looking at, and it could be changed. That's what it means. There could be changes in it. Okay, we just wanted to get a clarification on that. And, this is the form of the bond. Yes, and we have looked at that, and we saw the word substantially again, and we were concerned that if 15 million is not rock, how far is it going?
No, 15 is the cap, and for example, if you go to the form for blanks, see the blanks have to be filled in. So we know at the very least we got to fill in the blanks.
All right.
So the formula will probably pretty much exactly like it except for those numbers.
Okay. Our last one. When will this bill, number 2009-39, be on the City of Las Vegas Council agenda?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. All right. And thank you so much.
Ms. Queen, in your last statement states that you all, as a
Yes.
board, recommend the council deny after the explanation from Mr. Vincent. Is that still your position, or do you now support this item?
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Barlow. We appreciate you bringing that to our attention. We are very because Mr. Vincent has explained that it wouldn't necessarily need to be the 15 million. However, it's been our experience that most things do not come under or at. They usually go over by the time that time is reached for whatever reason. And for 650 parking spaces, with the concerns that with the need for parking, and even if the majority come on a bus, we still have concerns about this amount of money being put to 650 parking spaces. In other words, and of course I'm speaking in layman terms, I have to have the money before I can, as you mentioned, you build to it. But whereas this, we know that there will be more added to this if it comes out and we say, well, we need more down the line. Look at anything, the Regional Justice Center, for instance. And so, and we could name any number of things. So we would like to see, as we say here, as the bill is written, with the qualifications that have been set, and then the word substantially being in there, everything. This is a cloud. We're putting $15 million onto a cloud, so to speak. Even though it's going to buy the land.
So let me just interrupt you and ask you this question. So would it be fair, would it be an accurate statement that you are still in opposition to the?
We are, and we have to speak to that because that was the board's thing. But we are, yes.
Okay, I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else here willing to speak on this item?
Yes,
if so, please come forward and state your name for the record.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Teddy Russell V, resident of Las Vegas. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Councilman.
Good morning. Did you say the 5th?
The 5th. I've been saying this for ever so long. I'm shocked and appalled.
I'm sorry. It took me 5 times to get
Over the 100 years that I've lived in our fine city, Mr. Vincent has so much earned my trust that, thank God in heaven, I no longer have to channel him. This particular item has been repeated over and over and over and over in our redevelopment meetings. Mr. Arndt does an excellent job of displaying the utility, the pragmatics, the fact that there rather much is no choice involved. This is a linchpin property. It is not a promise of windfall profit. It is not exploiting the citizens. We all know, I'm tempted to say, it takes paradise to put up a parking lot. Concerning the valid concerns of the prior citizen as to elevator safety, one would guess that the ultimate in elevator technology, and I have some expertise here, IBW, my lecture on the schematics and the redundancy of elevators. For example, the elevator in the stratosphere takes 47 seconds to ascend to a level of roughly 1,080 feet. Redundancy is the key. The elevators in this parking garage will necessarily be, to the constant updating of code, in electrical code, superior in security and safety to those of the stratosphere. That's all I have. I thank you so much and have a great day here in downtown Las Vegas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your email as well.
You're very welcome.
Is there anyone else here willing and ready to speak on this item? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, Councilman,
I'll make a motion to approve.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you for that. Next item is Bill number 2009-40, prohibits the parking of a mobile billboard within 500 feet of a single-family dwelling, sponsored by Councilman Gary Reese. Staff?
Yes, this is a measure that Councilman Reese asked for. He was concerned and is concerned not only with the parking of mobile billboards, but also the driving through of mobile billboards within residential areas. We've researched both. We continue to research the possibility of placing a restriction on actual travel within residential neighborhoods, but for the time being, I have not found a way to do that that might survive challenge, although we continue to work on that. So this is a start. Prohibits parking a mobile billboard, which is defined within 500 feet of a single-family dwelling. It obviously targets those structures on vehicles that are there for the purpose of advertising, so that it excludes the public transportation vehicles that use advertising as a revenue enhancer, and also excludes people's personal vehicles that might advertise their business. We recommend approval and answer any questions you might have.
Okay. If there's anyone here willing to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name for the record.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And please allow the matter, your comments to reflect the matter at hand.
Oh. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Councilman Anthony. You might have heard the quaint bucolic expression, if it weren't for bad luck, I would have none at all. A certain wise man once said, that being me, there is no such thing as luck, it is merely the intersection of proper preparation and opportunity. With my luck, so to speak, I would have a $12 million mansion and a mobile sign parked next to my home and an incessantly barking dog, as you might guess, in addition to having unlimited trust in the Mayor Pro Tem's wisdom. I do recommend approval most heartily. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here willing to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name for the record.
Yes, good morning. My name is Marla Letitia. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Letitia Mass Media, and we own a brand called Big Traffic, which is the largest mobile billboard company in the Southwest. We founded the mobile billboard industry here in Las Vegas, believe it or not, if you will, in 1999 during the mayor's inaugural run for mayor in which he won. The product was developed to be a classy product, to be a product that set itself apart from taxis and stationary outdoor. Our particular clients include Saks Fifth Avenue, the shops at Palazzo, MGM Mirage, Harrah's, McDonald's nationally, Subway nationally, Budweiser, Coca-Cola, and other major brands throughout the valley. We have never, and I know you want to claim that it doesn't matter to any of you, but we have never participated in adult advertising, which if you choose to not admit that it bothers you, I must tell you that it bothers us and me implicitly. The industry has grown somewhat out of control because locally we haven't been able to get traction for some regulation of the industry. So a couple of things that I want to address that we are pleased about is that there are mobile billboard one-truck wonders, that we call them, that come into town during conventions, that come in and take maybe $20,000 to $50,000 of revenue outside this community, and they are not licensed. They don't pay the state taxes that we pay, and so there doesn't seem to be any traction to regulate this part of the industry, which would cause anybody that comes in as a mobile billboard owner or operator to at the very least get a city business license, which we do, or county business license, as well as North Las Vegas, Henderson, etc. And we complement the fact that there is going to be on the books now some regulation for the industry. One of the things that we want to tell you about this one-truck wonder phenomena, if you will, is that when we go in and lay down a bid in front of Harrah's or MGM, frequently we will get people to come into town and lay down bids for a third of the cost of what we are able to offer for in order to make a profit in the industry. One of the reasons for that is that they don't pay for the overhead of a parking facility in an industrial area like we do. So we have parking off-site where all the vehicles are put away for the night, if you will, locked up and kept in an industrial area, which is what any type of trucking service has to do for their vehicles. So what has been happening is a content that we would all hopefully step forward and say that we don't agree with is being brought into neighborhoods, and these drivers are parking those vehicles in their driveways, which butts up against all of these other issues and complaints. So we come forward and say that we are pleased that the city is taking a step forward and setting forth some form of regulation. I do need to point out that in this particular bill, as I'm reading it now, and our attorneys just chose not to be here at this time because we're with this and we're going to go forward, but I do want to point out to you that there are some things that can be challenged here, and I have to further look into this to see if they would. But specifically, they're going to allow buses or taxis or similar vehicles into your neighborhoods. The problem that you have with that is that taxis and your city buses run by the county compete with us in the billboard industry for outdoor dollars that are laid out into this community by people such as the MGM Mirage groups and the Harrah's groups and the other properties that all of us compete for advertising dollars. So in fact, city and county are competing with private industry for these advertising dollars. You are walking a very fine line, and you're going to have to have your city city attorney look at this, and we may challenge it based on this, that you are willing to disallow private industry, which is a competitive business to the county in terms of taxing and certainly in terms of the RTC here in this community. So we may or may not, based on how this goes forward from this point on, take issue to that, but I think I should lay it out for you that that is a concern for us, that I don't think anybody would want government to compete with private industry. And have you legislate to give county, city, or government on any level an advantage over private industry on that. But other than that, we are pleased that we are putting some regulation down on the books that would help to regulate and give the industry some substantive respect within this community. Any questions? Actually, good. In regards to you mentioned the New York City Commission just chooses to election I'm really sure when I said this location. Yes, okay. I understand when you mentioned the city and the county allowing for taxes and RTC. Right. Item 1 under the just above the term does not include signs that are displayed or installed on a bus, taxi cab, or similar vehicle that is used primarily for the purpose of transporting multiple passengers. So you're referencing the advertisement that the RTC as well as the taxi cab doors have the type of rail vehicles as far as that. As this reads, and your city attorney is going to have to take a look at this, but as this reads, is that you cannot park a mobile billboard in the neighborhood, but you can park a taxi or you can park a bus. I'm just trying to get the understanding of where you're coming from in regards to marketing, maybe this is a person for mounting. How we get an understanding of parking taxis and buses that come through the neighborhood. I know that taxis and buses are at their facilities, but what we're trying to do is if someone doesn't authorize, if someone authorizes those vehicles to have advertising, that's a challenge for another day in the form. But to the extent that this Letitia is talking about, these vehicles being able to be parked in neighborhoods as opposed to the mobile billboards, we may go out and have a large demonstration that I think would be about which is the primary purpose of a bus taxi cab or similar vehicles transportation. And incidentally, yes, I know this, but if I was asking advertising, whereas a mobile billboard transport activity is not to transport, but is to advertise. So, we acknowledge that there's an issue there, and we've looked at it, we'll continue to look at it. And that's really, and I thank you for that very much, and that is what we want to certainly make sure that we have on the record, is that your attorneys have acknowledged that there is some form of competition between government and private industry here when it comes to outdoor advertising with regards to this community, certainly from the resorts, etc. The county employs Vector Media to sell advertising out of your double-decker buses, even your single-decker buses. And those proposals are directly on the media buyers' desks of the people that we also sell to. And very frequently, our proposals are chosen over Vector Media's or Vector Media's over ours. And there is a very, very, very strong sense on our part to certainly make it to the public record for everybody to hear that on some level that we support this particular ordinance, but we need to make you aware that there is a very fine line between you legislating an advantage to government over private industry.
Right. And just a further question, this ordinance overall was to prohibit the parking in the stores overnight, the mobile billboards. However, the mobile billboards will have an opportunity to drive through the neighborhoods should they choose. Right. Correct. That's correct. And so, as far as this, I guess taxi that you brought forward as well as the RTC, they come through either pick up and drop off and keep moving versus. Right. The ordinance does not distinguish between parking for 1 minute and parking overnight. Right? A problem that's been identified has been over long periods of time, perhaps overnight. But the ordinance operates on, parking for, 5 minutes. If you're not there dropping off, if you just park there, the ordinance operates on it. Okay, so, but you could, if you park on one of these mobile billboards in a neighborhood for 5 minutes, you could be cited. Right. Correct. But obviously, if a person has a flat tire, law enforcement always looks at those issues.
But I guess the issue, the whole issue came up when these mobile billboards were parking in the neighborhoods.
Right.
We haven't had any complaints about taxis and buses being parked in neighborhoods, Maybe somebody goes home for lunch, or something like that, but that's not the complaint or issue that came up. Right.
No, but I'm noting it is that you are including it in this ordinance, which I think is you're dangerously butting up against something that perhaps shouldn't have been noted here. Because
You're saying it shouldn't have even been mentioned.
It should not have been, no. Because what will happen in this case is that as we go forward into requesting stronger regulation, and believe me, we will be back to ask truly for stronger regulation of this. And I must reveal to you as well that I'm the president of the MBBIA, which is the Mobile Billboard International Association of Nevada. And we have a group of mobile billboard operators who come together, and I represent them. And I have to tell you that we are very, very, very much in favor of regulation, because the fact that we are not regulating is actually hurting the industry and hurting our community. In terms of driving in the residential areas, I have to tell you, to come off of Charleston Boulevard as an example and drive down, let's call it Upland, which would be a street that you'd be familiar with from your area. I was raised right on the corner of Upland and Alta there. But we would lose thousands and thousands and thousands of impressions for our advertisers. And it would not make any sense whatsoever for any mobile billboard operator that knew anything about this business to do such a thing, to drive off of Charleston Boulevard and then go on a street like Upland or Gypsy or Easy Street or any of those others. That would be absolutely ridiculous. So we would actually, in a further step, if you were to bring this forward about driving down residential streets, we would also support that. But not as a step of we can't do it and buses can. I think that you really need to govern yourselves carefully in order for us suddenly not to challenge you that if you are going to start giving an advantage to something that government regulates, you're going to get yourselves into trouble. And further, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I won't forget the other item that I wanted to tell you.
Does the description of a mobile billboard in here, is that a sufficient description that anyone would understand?
And where are you, what item?
It says,
Section B.
Section B, subsection B, mobile billboard means. Okay, so would anybody who reads that understand exactly what this ordinance is targeting?
Well, I can't tell you if anybody would, but I certainly know that it would certainly be sufficient for me.
It would?
It would. It definitely would.
So I guess, it's a valid point. Do we need to put, do we need to identify other uses that would be allowed, or is it just sufficient to put in there what we're not allowing? That's a good question.
The concept of the regulation is to include everything and then accept out the things that we don't want to include. And I might add that with respect to number one there, the principal reason we mention those types of transportation vehicles is that the city does not have regulatory authority over a bus other than the city's buses. The city does not have regulatory authority over taxi cab. We can't regulate taxi cabs. That's it's assigned to the state. Any vehicle that has transportation, public transportation capability is regulated by the state, and we can't regulate them. So that is the reason for putting that exception in there.
Exactly, but this is the reason they're putting it in, is because it also carries advertising. If it didn't, they wouldn't have thought to put it in. So the problem that you have is that by putting it in, you are leaving yourself open for a challenge on this regulation. I'm on your side. I'm on your side in this. And I'm trying to tell you that with this in there, you leave actually a lawsuit open, because we ourselves have been investigating this based on some other issues we have with the county, not the city.
Who would challenge us? Who would file a lawsuit? A billboard, a mobile billboard company?
Yeah, we would. Because when you find that government is competing with private industry and that government is legislating yourselves an advantage, then this is where we come up against the issue. So the point is that if taxis and buses didn't have advertising on them, they wouldn't be excluded from this. It's not because they're public transportation. I could name other things that are equal to that in terms of public or not.
So let me ask you this question. Does the city have, because we don't regulate the county, does the city have vehicles that we advertise on?
I don't know.
Betsy?
No, not that you advertise on. That you regulate. That you regulate and you get income from the advertising. So let me back you up.
Well, I guess then my question then becomes...
Actually, the city advertises on our company quite regularly for Parks and Recreation, and we have actually been there for you, just like you would buy advertising on a stationary billboard. Over the years, many, many times, the city has bought advertising with us, especially for Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
But you've got it reversed. You've got it reversed in your head, I think.
I do.
I think you do.
Get out of my head.
I don't want to embarrass you, and I'm not trying to call you out on it, but I'm just
That's
trying to
all
help.
me out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help.
I know it's in my head.
Oh, okay.
Betsy, would you just for the record, so we keep everything straight? Thank you. Please state your name.
Betsy Crowell, city manager.
Thank you, Betsy. Does the city currently have vehicles, or we advertise on vehicles for advertising purposes?
Our own fleet?
Our own fleet, or do we advertise on other vehicles for the sake of marketing?
As far as our own fleet goes, we don't have a commercial message. There may be stickers on all the fire cars that say, heat kills or something like that, but nothing that says join Youth Little League at Parks and Recreation these days.
Do those stickers generate revenue for us?
No.
Okay.
As far as our advertising efforts, I'm unaware that we advertise. I know that we often take advantage of free opportunities, sort of like the public service announcements. We get into the circuit, if you will, on those where there's advertising space that is made available by various organizations, that then we take advantage of their vacant spots for some period of time. I can certainly look into that for you if you'd like to know what kind of advertising we do or don't do. I know for our Parks and Recreation programs, we do make sure that we're in the community calendars, that we're in Desert Companion and the cultural guides and other things that our constituents may read to identify opportunities that they want to take advantage of city programs. And there usually are nominal fees for those, for placement in those or to be listed in those. But for anything beyond that, I would have to really look into if there's more than that going on.
Okay, because I'm just trying to get an understanding, because Ms. Letitia is stating that we're, as a city, walking a fine line in regards to legislating on behalf of the government and blocking out the advertising opportunities from, for example, mobile billboards. So
So to give you just a little more clarity on
Yes, ma'am.
that, and it certainly, isn't as much of an issue for the city as it would be for the county. And I know that there are levels where what you do is very independent of what the county does, but there are some crossover lines, and I don't know if as legislators you really care if it affects the county in some way or not. But just to help you have clarity, let me explain. The county commission governs the RTC. Of that we can agree, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's
Well,
a regional
it's
board
actually a
that has
regional board.
representation from a
Yeah.
variety of local governments, including the county.
And including the city?
And including the city, we have 2 members on that board.
Okay, so there, in fact, where I've made my error is that I wasn't aware that actually the city governed the RTC as well. So this does affect you, so let me help you just have some clarity on it. The RTC has a contract with a media company whose name is Vector Media.
Correct.
Okay. Vector Media sells outdoor advertising on the sides of the RTC buses.
Correct.
They will go and pitch, as an example, MGM Mirage and the media buying group in order to get their advertising outdoor dollars for something like, as an example, Cirque du Soleil. And in fact, more recently, we were all bidding on the new Cirque du Soleil Elvis extravaganza, which is opening at City Center, as an example. So we submitted an outdoor proposal for mobile billboards to the Cirque du Soleil group. We were invited in for the RFP. As I said, Cirque du Soleil and MGM is our clients already. And we are buying for, let's say they have $500,000 that they're going to spend in outdoor. We have gone in and asked for an extremely large piece of that outdoor buy that will come into our company. We do this on a regular basis. RTC, Vector Media, has also gone and made a presentation, they were invited as well, to place a bid on the table for also a large portion of that outdoor advertising buy. So you see, as the city governs Vector Media, and if you're going to give them an advantage in this ordinance over another outdoor advertising company, this is where that line gets a little bit uncomfortable for us in private industry, because what you're doing here is giving an advantage to what you control, and you are getting, by the way, Vector Media now pays back into this pot, and you get revenues, as does the county, from the RTC advertising sales. So we want to support this ordinance, but we don't want to see it get challenged. And if not by us, there's other operators, honestly, that we don't really agree with, nor do we endorse their form of mobile billboard advertising and what they're doing in this community. I'm afraid to say I can't do anything about it. But I would hate to see them be the ones that come in and loudly repeal this ordinance that we agree with because of that language in one. So I think that that's something that Brad and his attorneys need to take a look at, and we'll take it from
But
there.
there's no evidence or there's no complaints about RTC vehicles being parked in neighborhoods, correct?
Well,
The complaints are
I mean,
mobile billboards.
Right. I mean, somebody certainly would not call our offices to complain about RTC being parked somewhere. And
We haven't had any complaints about RTC vehicles parking in
that's my
neighborhoods.
point. If the RTC parks somewhere at night and so do taxis, why are you making this exception in the ordinance? You don't need to.
Well,
That's my point.
just as our attorney mentioned that, one, we don't regulate, the state regulates the taxi authorities and their ability. And if there were an issue on city streets, we would then basically have to take it up that chain. We don't regulate them. But I understand your point as far as why that is there.
Yeah, it
I also
doesn't look
understand the rationale that our attorneys have provided as far as placing items in the ordinance and extracting and making exempt those items that we don't regulate. So
could we regulate the parking of taxis and RTC buses in neighborhoods? Can the city do that?
by ordinance.
We can regulate it, but we can't prohibit it. which is what this would be doing.
That's what, can we prohibit taxis and RTC vehicles from being parked?
We'd have to have a rationale for that, and if the only rationale is that they happen to have advertising on it, I don't think that would be
It wouldn't go
allowed.
But you are, that's interesting. I'm really in support of this. I'm not trying to debate it, but what he just said is extremely concerning. That means then that you're only prohibiting mobile billboards because they have advertising.
That's exactly what they are doing. They're advertising rather than transporting. That's what the concern is that a billboard
The
that is
actual-
only an advertisement is in a neighborhood.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what the problem is. Now, if we don't accept out these three things that are in number one, we get a lawsuit from those people. I would much rather defend the lawsuit from mobile billboards than from the people who we don't have any authority to regulate.
Correct.
So really, the concern isn't advertising, the concern is the content of the advertising.
No.
No, you want to say that, but Dean, he's there, you're afraid to admit it, but here's the reality, and it needs to be said. Dean DiPaolo, the university professor at UNLV, will tell you straight out, and he's the one who contacted Gary Reese, and I've met with Dean, and he and I both agree with this. His concern was that girls to your room were coming through his neighborhood. Hot Latina girls straight to your house. Su Casa, call this number, was going through his neighborhood. And that is what his concern is, and frankly, it is my concern as well. And that there is a fear of being honest about that this is really being generated by the content, and that, there is community standards. I think we could all agree to that. I don't think you'd be afraid to say that there's community standards about this type of stuff that's out there. That we're afraid to come out and say it, but we want to dance around it by legislating quietly something else is not fair to those who are legitimately doing a good, strong, and hard, sincere issue about this.
I agree.
Thank you.
Is there
Well, the only other thing that I would bring up
the other point?
is that there is an ordinance on the books, Title 14, it's a county ordinance, but let me just explain to you how this is working. Title 14.10.010, which is a traffic ordinance, item C, prohibits a moving vehicle from having flashing lights or any type of digital signage on it whatsoever. Certainly, as the largest and the most well-known, and certainly having the client base that would request something like this, as an example, Cirque du Soleil said, God, we would love to have a mobile billboard that goes down the Las Vegas Strip that has a 60-second video of what our show actually has to entice people to get tickets. Our answer is, and we've been offered, way over what our level of advertising would be to bring that into the community. It's prohibited. There's an ordinance specifically against that, and so therefore we don't do it. But there are trucks that come into this town all the time that have video messages on them all the time, and we cannot get anybody to uphold this ordinance. There is no, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word really quick. There's no enforcement. Thank you. There's no enforcement for the current laws that are on the books. I really am concerned. I'd love to see this pass, and again, we support it for all the right reasons, but we cannot get enforcement to do something about Title 14.10 item C. And I don't know how you're going to be able to have the manpower to now regulate this, and it's of a concern, because if we were enforcing what was currently on the books, you wouldn't be needing to do more, and how much more can we do? And so there's a call out for some sort of enforcement.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Is there anyone else here who wanted to speak on this item? So please go forward and state your name for the record.
I'll stand here. Juanita Clark,
Yes, we have read this, and we concurred with it wholeheartedly. We hadn't thought of that aspect, but we certainly would support the one that just testified. But we are very excited that Councilman Reese put this on, because we've seen this we've seen such stuff around the strip. We have not seen it worked in our neighborhoods, unfortunately, but yet. But we hope that will be to come, and so we appreciate this being on the books. But I would suggest that you do heed the concern of government versus private enterprise. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on this item? So please come forward, section of the record. Seeing none. Council, motion to approve. Okay, before we, I forgot to mention one thing. When I wrote this ordinance, I included our standard penalty clause, which is section 3, for getting about our parking regulations or enforced civilly. So I would like to unfortunately that we take out section 3 and just civil violation will be enforced. So you're asking for section 3 to be deleted from the ordinance? Pass or something? No, there's no law becoming number 3. So, did you want to make a motion to citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the meeting must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction. If there's anyone here who wants to speak during public comment, please come forward, state your name. Citizens, the taxpayers, be not confused, let me say this concerning advertising sources on this side of the table as a citizen. I can say things with prejudice, allowing perhaps stated cannot. Our advertising sources without cost advertising the city of Las Vegas, the first thing you need to know to be a responsible citizen is you need to read and know. First and foremost, I think of the Las Vegas Sun website and the RJ. You can say the mother of all advertising on behalf of the city of Las Vegas and Clark County is the Las Vegas Citizens and Visitors Authority. I consider Mr. Wiggleman the business of RT. They recently received an Emmy, City of Las Vegas. You go to LasVegasNevada.gov. You push resident, and you learn some things. You learn much more if you push visitor. I will mention one private entity, which is Sitcom, concerning the contracts of the RTC, which is absolutely not owned by the city of Las Vegas. Right now, the chairman of the RTC is Larry, Brown, who is a Clark County Commissioner. The co-chairman is Commissioner Chris G.B. of the city of Wyoming. There is representation from North Las Vegas, NDOT, Clark County Commission, City of Las Vegas, Mesquite, and Prologue. There are 2 advertising contracts that go concurrently under the authority of the RTC, which is not ruled or governed as a sub-entity or dominion of the City of Las Vegas. Vector advertising is exclusively mobile advertising. We also have a contract that has been going for perhaps
primarily transportation advertising is incidental. For example, it may be as Showtime Airport, downtown shuttle driver needs a business to take the shuttle home from time to time, as a working supervisor or a driver according to schedule and priority to airport or casino hotels from downtown. Jobs and customer service are very much in the argument, in the issue, and justice here, or good judgment here in rotten economic times. What I'm saying is that jobs are at stake, the service of not only our locals, but most of all in these economic times, attracting and maintaining a world-class level of service for our guests or visitors. On another vein, we have now reviewed, scanned, and assimilated all existing ordinances, codes, laws, that for the purpose of gaining revenue. I am concerned with increasing revenue just as equally for Clark County as I am for City of Las Vegas. This is controversial, times 10 to the power of 32. However, I recently was so blessed to receive a coaching session from an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she represents that in the human condition, it is far less than ideal that there will always be violent words, violent actions that lead to cases, which lead to arguments, that lead to issues, that lead to judgment. In the United States of America, no man nor entity is above the law.
Mr. Russell.
I am saying simply this, that there is no way that anyone can mitigate, impede just and equal enforcement of constitutional code, which is to say, this would be a very good time for our citizens and our corporations and all entities to understand that you had better be lawful in all cases. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, you had said, and I'm surprised and shocked that you made an error, there is indeed a public spitting law. The fine is $190. I again, as an activist, petition this organization to double the fine for spitting, or say make it $360. We all know how this works. We are talking about a worldwide pandemic known as the swine flu. I will not rest until this is corrected. I thank you very much for your time and have a great day.
And I stand corrected. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here willing to speak on this item? If so, please come forward and state your name for the record. I'm not item. I'm sorry, public comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yes, we do have two questions that have been moved to this portion of the agenda, and that was question 6. For what functions will meter users not be charged? Parking meter in city facilities.
If I may ask you, Ms. Juanita, Ms. Clark, to ask this question tomorrow during the item in which this will come before the council. We will have someone from detention and enforcement, parking enforcement, there to answer that question. There's no one here that I'm aware of that will have that answer for you right now. So if you will hold that item over until tomorrow. Are you going to be here tomorrow for council? Or if not, I will ask the question. I will ask the question on your behalf and get that question answered for you.
Okay, we would appreciate that very much.
I'll make a note of that to ask.
Okay.
Okay.
And what about number 7? That was about planning commission attendees are currently charged for parking.
So you're
And we
saying
wanted
number
to-
6 and number 7 are the 2 questions you would like answered?
That I did not get answered during the,
And I will have both of those answers
Yeah.
for you tomorrow. Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Councilman, is there a recommendation that we adjourn or keep going? Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.